film opens with a man named Kirk rehearsing his speech on how to reclaim his girlfriend, Marnie. Kirk is still in love with his fiancée, despite the fact that his best buddy, Stainer, despises her and hopes they would stay apart. Kirk meets with Maureen a few hours later, who turns out to be dating a new guy named Ron. Kirk, on the other hand, pushes him out of the room so he can talk to her. She does, however, tell him that Ron, although owning an off-brand Pizza Hut, is more successful than he is. She refuses an earring holder with their photo inscribed on it that he tries to gift her. The next day, Kirk is at work as an airport security guard when he observes a lovely female waiting to board a plane. Although his manager, Mr. Fullier, is attempting to have her strip searched, Kirk intervenes and stops him. She expresses her gratitude for his assistance, and he learns her name is Molly. Molly realizes on the plane that she forgot her phone at security. As a result, she has her friend Patty, who is also boarding the plane, call her phone. Kirk happens to be the station that answers it. He tries to hand it back to her before the plane takes off, but she instructs him to keep it until the next day because she'll be back for an event at a museum. Kirk agrees that he is nervous. Kirk tells his pal Devin what occurred with Molly the next night. Despite his apprehensions about seeing her, Devin assures him that everything would be okay. As a result, Devin joins Kirk at the gathering and asks some waitresses where they may find Molly. One of them, Katie, turns out to be her sister, and she directs them to her. As a result, Kirk approaches Molly to return her phone. When Kirk tries to go, Molly invites him to stay for a couple of drinks, which he accepts. Unfortunately, Kirk spills his drink on an unknown man, who turns out to be the museum's director, resulting in him and Devin being ejected from the establishment. Molly, on the other hand, chases him down before he leaves, and invites him to hang out with her the next day at an Islanders game. Kirk appears to accept her offer. At the airport the next day, Stainer and Devin try to persuade Kirk to date Molly, who he believes is out of his league. Meanwhile, Marnie informs Kirk that she will be accompanying his parents on their family vacation, and that Ron will be joining them. Fortunately, Kirk is unconcerned because he'll be with Molly. Kirk takes Stainer to meet Molly and Patty late at night. Stainer, on the other hand, tries to sit up with Molly. When Patty and Kirk are alone, she tells him that Molly is indeed interested in him. Unfortunately, Stainer continues to inform him that she doesn't like him after a few days. Despite the fact that Molly brought Patty along to fix her up with Stainer, he prefers Molly. Fortunately, Molly phones Kirk to ask him out again, causing Stainer to become agitated. Meanwhile, Patty tries to persuade Molly not to date Kirk because he's not the type of guy she typically dates. The next day, Kirk is still perplexed as to why Molly would desire him, but Stainer assures him that they got along swimmingly at the game. Kirk and Molly sit down for supper a few hours later, and he discovers that Molly used to be a lawyer. He does, however, appear to be a member of the staff due to his attire. As a result, when he returns to his seat, he discovers Cam, Molly's ex-boyfriend, seated on his chair. Fortunately, Molly clears the air, and Cam departs almost as fast as he arrived. He learns a little more about her family after supper. Tells his friends the next day about his successful date with Molly. Despite the fact that he informs his friends that he has invited Molly to dinner with his parents, they object to the notion, claiming that it is too soon for Molly to meet his parents. His parents, on the other hand, are enthralled by her attractiveness when she visits his home. Molly sits down with his family for dinner and is subjected to a barrage of improper questions. Marnie decides to get dressed up when she first sees her since Ron is flirting with her. His father tries to find out what she like about Kirk, but she just responds that he makes her laugh. His father, it appears, has invited her to join them on their family holiday. Despite her protests, Marnie accepts their offer. She does, however, tell Molly that she and Kirk used to date, which she ignores. Later, she spends time with his family in their basement, where they play hockey. Molly returns to her apartment late at night and tries to make out with Kirk. Kirk's inexperience, on the other hand, causes him to complete swiftly. Unfortunately, Molly's parents arrive with Katie at her residence, forcing Kirk to conceal the stain in his pants. Fortunately, he is able to flee the flat before anyone notices his unusual conduct. Kirk is embarrassed the next day by his buddies mocking him for his lack of experience, so Marnie decides to tell him she'd like to date him again. He does, however, reveal to her that he has genuine affections for Molly. However, she hasn't returned his calls since the previous night's incident. Stainer then tells him that it's all a lie. Meanwhile, Devin gives him the strength he needs to reclaim her. Kirk goes to an event that Molly is planning with his buddies Stainer and Jack a few days later. Despite her disappointment that he did not spend enough time with her family, he claims that he only left because he ejaculated in his pants. Molly, thankfully, believes him, and all is fine between them once more. Unfortunately, Kim appears and informs him of his intention to reclaim Molly, as he does not believe Kirk is dating her. Molly and Kirk go on a lot of dates together throughout the day, and people congratulate Kirk for obtaining a girl like Molly. Despite the fact that Kirk is still recovering from his earlier experience, Jack advises him to take care of his physique so he won't be afraid when the time comes. Despite this, Kirk's attempt to shave his body hair fails. As a result, he enlists Devon's assistance, which ultimately benefits him. Molly throws a birthday party for her sister, Kate, at night. The celebration is a big success, but Kirk now has to confront Molly's parents and apologize for being disrespectful to them the first time they met. Cam, on the other hand, shows up unannounced to the party and convinces Kirk that Molly isn't as flawless as she appears. Cam tells him to sort it out for himself, despite his attempts to persuade him otherwise. Things between Molly and Kirk heat up in Molly's place, and as they begin to undress, Kirk's insecurity emerges. Molly chooses to reveal him something she's insecure about in order to make him feel better, which turns out to be her webbed toes. Irritated, Kirk is perplexed that this is the only problem she has. Unfortunately, they get into a quarrel because Kirk, like Cam, does not consider Molly as a human person. Nonetheless, she admits that she went out with him because she believed he wouldn't treat her badly. Kirk eventually leaves her flat. Kirk and his family go on vacation a few days later, and he's attempting to get over his breakup with Molly by rebounding with Marnie. Despite his dissatisfaction with her, he is attempting to make things work. Stainer, on the other hand, knows that his girlfriend dumped him because he didn't think he was good enough for himself. As a result, he chooses to speak with Kirk on the plane in order to reunite him with Molly. Unfortunately, he is unable to board him on the plane. As a result, he approaches Patty for assistance in reuniting them. Meanwhile, Kirk realizes that he doesn't want to leave Molly behind just as the plane is about to take off. He can't get off, though, because the staff has closed the cabin doors. Patty, on the other hand, drives Molly to the airport in order for her to catch Kirk's jet before it takes off. Stainer decides to persuade her to join the plane. However, when they reach at the gates, they discover that the jet is already taken off. As a result, Stainer dials Jack's number and orders him to bring the plane to a halt. Fortunately, Jack buys them enough time for maintenance, which requires all passengers to evacuate the plane. Kirk, on the other hand, immediately begins running from Marnie, who is attempting to push him back on the plane. Kirk then dials Stainer, who informs him that Molly is waiting for him at the gate. Despite the fact that Marnie is still chasing him, he knocks her down so he can get to Molly. Kirk tries to apologize to Molly for putting her on a pedestal at the gate, but she interrupts him, claiming she apologizes for what she said and kisses her passionately. And this is where the movie comes to an end. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, until next time.